fan of MMA fighting? Do you like the UFC? Are you wondering whether you should upgrade from UFC 3 to UFC 4? Well then, my friends, check out my review of UFC 4 coming up next on Mumble. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mumbles. Today's episode of Mumbles, we're reviewing this. This, my friends, is UFC 4, the video game. Now, guys, this game is the mixed martial arts game that is based on UFC fighting in real life, and it is the newest addition to this game series. But guys, is it a good game? I'm going to try to tell you guys just that information today. So first things first, guys, I do have to ask you guys, if you have not already subscribed to MumblesVideos, please do hit that little subscribe button and hit the little notification bell and drop a like on the video. It helps the video to be seen by more people. The channel can grow that way, and just know how much I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Now, guys, we're going to talk about UFC 4. Guys, first things first, I do want to say I gave this game a 7 out of 10 on our Mumbles review today. If you want to know why, stay tuned, because I'm going to tell you exactly why. Now, guys, as far as price-wise goes, at the time of this review, it is a full-price AAA title game, and it is a $60 game, no matter where you get it, whether it be Steam, Xbox One, or PlayStation 4. Now, as far as whether or not this system will carry over to the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, at this time, tentatively, yes. However, that could change. So if you're looking into getting this game for either the newer of the console editions, you may want to check online to make sure that this game is compatible. However, I can tell you on the Xbox box, it does say Xbox Series 1 S. So whether or not it will work or not, we won't know for certain until we get the new systems, but there's a pretty good chance this game is going to work. Now, guys, it's usually at this time I give you guys a description of the game, what the creators say about it. But, guys, let's be honest here. This is a UFC fighting game. It's a mixed martial arts game. You fight other people in it in an octagon. If you want to know the type of game this is, literally go Google UFC highlights, and you'll see exactly the type of game this is. It is a punching, fighting type game. That's all I need to say about it. I'm not going to waste your time with a big, long description. Now, guys, we're going to talk about the graphics, the soundtrack, and the controls. First off, guys, the graphics in this game does have some nice, well-made graphics that are comparable to this generation of games. They're very, very well done. They're not the most amazing graphics I've ever seen, but they are serviceable for this generation of game, so nothing but good things to say here. Now, I do want to tack on animations, and I know animations are different from graphics, but it most resembles graphics in this section. So I will say, animation-wise, as far as ground animations and striking animations, there are some animations that could use a little bit of tweaking or changing because they do show some age, but beyond that, graphics are 100% perfect. Soundtrack-wise, this game has a nice balance of soundtrack. This music might not be the type of music for everyone. There's a lot of hip-hop and things like that. But for the most part, it is a good balance of music. They have current artists like Eminem and people like that. So I can only say good things about the soundtrack. Great job on the soundtrack. Now we come to the control section. And this is the area that most differentiates itself from UFC 3. They made a lot of changes to this. They wanted to make it accessible to people who are first-time playing. They wanted to change things up and make things a lot easier. In UFC 3, even just to punch people, you had to do certain button combinations, you know, A, B, C, you know, that kind of stuff. On this game, they changed it to simply using the triggers and then applying different buttons. So it's much easier to pick up and play this game. They also gave the ground game quite a facelift for new players with the Grapple Assist, meaning if you don't know the proper move that you want to do on the ground, you can simply use Grapple Assist, and you can say, oh, I want to go for a submission. Oh, I want to go for a ground and pound. Oh, I want to stand up. There is no having to know, you know, oh, this is a north-south position. I need to go into this position. I got to get there on the ground. You don't have to do any of that anymore. You don't have to be a connoisseur of the fight game in order to play this game effectively. Now, they also changed the submissions for this game, and they put in a new minigame submission, which is kind of like chase. What I mean by that is it's a little circle and you basically are trying to get your opponent or get away from your opponent in the little circle. As you can see here in the gameplay that I'm playing right now. It's a very easy submission game to understand and it works very nicely. They also improved the clinch controls by also using the same techniques they did with striking as far as using your triggers and things like that instead of so many button combinations. So it's no longer like a Mortal Kombat type thing where you have to know 5 or 6 button presses to get your fatality. It's much, much easier to understand. So Control-wise, they have done a great job with the controls. I can say nothing but good things about the controls. Now we come to the gameplay section. This is usually where I would kind of give you an overview of what to expect from the game, how it plays, that kind of thing. But truthfully, as I stated, it's a fighting game. You fight. So there's not a lot to talk to you guys about, this is the kind of gameplay you can expect. So instead, I'm going to just take a quick look at the different game modes, with my main emphasis being on career mode, as I feel most people are going to want to play the career mode. The career mode is basically where you can build your own fighter from scratch and become the greatest of all time, or the GOAT. Now, career mode starts out with you being introduced to Coach Davis and him basically giving a little story about how you were not very good when you started, blah, 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 and he found you, and then it throws you into the fight game. Now, unlike previous games, this game actually teaches you from the ground up. It assumes that you don't know anything about UFC fighting or the UFC video games. And so, as you start this game out, you're literally going to start off as if you were agreeing to the fight game. So you'll get to learn all of the button combinations and things like that as you go through this career mode. Now, you will have to do training and things like that in order to improve your character as you go through the career mode. And one main change that they did make to the career mode this year is there's a lot more emphasis on, like, if you want to be a guy that does a lot of leg kicking, you can actually improve your leg kicking skill just by doing it with repetition, whether it be in fights or in training. And that is a cool thing because, let's be honest here, why should I have to improve my ground game if I want to be a kicker? I shouldn't have to. So it really does change things up as to how you go about training and improving your fighter. Now guys, as far as the rest of what career mode has to offer, basically you are a novice fighter who wants to strike it big in the UFC. So you can rank your way up into the UFC, and once you do, then you are in the UFC and you can become the greatest of all time. Now, as in previous games, to do this, you are given choices to do in social media and things like that. I gotta admit, the career mode, once you get later into it, it falls off a little bit for me because of the simple fact that, you can't do a lot of things like calling out people. You can respond to people, but you can't call out people. If you don't like somebody, you can't really just be like, I'm gonna cherry pick and call you out. It doesn't work that way. So I do wish there had been a little bit more control put into the career mode here in this section. Now, that pretty much sums up what the career mode is in this game. There is also the standard play now version in this game, which is, you can pick two fighters and go at it with you and your friends or just by yourself. There is 229 unique fighters at the time of this game's launch that come with this game, and 81 alternative versions. So you do have a lot of fighters to pick from in that regard. There's also online modes, with the coolest mode being Battle Blitz, which is basically a battle royale type fighting experience where you're given an opponent. You have 1 minute to do the best you can, and then as you proceed, people are knocked out, and obviously there's one left standing. So it's kind of like their own UFC fighting battle royale type mode. It's kind of a cool mode. There's also just the standard online modes, and really that stuff's all very basic, so I'm not going to talk about it much. But so guys, that pretty much sums up the gameplay section of this game. Not a lot to talk about here. Like I said, the main focus was on the career mode, and so that covers that. Now we're going to talk about the cons for this game. The first con that I have is that I feel like career mode could have had a lot more done with it. As I mentioned with the social media stuff, there's not a lot you can do there. I feel like they could have made it more interactive. And the other thing that I didn't like about career mode is when you get later in your career, there's not a lot of cutscenes. Like, if I win the title 20 times, there should be some kind of, cutscene commemorating me. I don't know. Just, I wish there would have been more story built into the game because I feel there's a lot of stuff you could have done with this. Now, I'm not saying that they needed to go NBA 2K style where they tell about your life and this and that. All I'm saying is that it would have been nice to have more built around your career in this game. Now, my final con for this game is the ground game. It's still very inconsistent in my opinion, especially with online play. Yes, the submission game in single player is great, but the mini game in online is really hard for anyone to ever win because online you can simply wiggle your stick back and forth and 9 times out of 10 you'll get out of any kind of submission attempt that anyone tries to do to you. So it's a little bit disappointing when it comes to the ground games. So guys, now the stuff to talk about is why I gave this game a 7 out of 10. Guys, with these sports games like the NBAs of the world and the Maddens of the world and the soccer games of the world, the main problem with these games is they have no competition. And I feel like this kind of struck this game. It's a solid game. It's a good game. It's an improvement from UFC 3. There's no doubt about it. But I feel like they skimped out on some things because they could. There's no competition. So why would I build up an entire career mode thing when I can just change some controls and throw it out again? It's that kind of thing that really kind of grinds my gears in a way, because I would have liked to seen more added to it. And I feel like if they had a competitor, there would have been more added to it. I gave this game a 7 out of 10 purely because I do like the changes that they made to the game as far as control-wise. That made a huge difference to me. When I tried to play UFC 3, I was lost, confused. I didn't understand ground controls. I'm not a person that can do a lot of button combinations. It just doesn't compute with my brain. And so for a fan of the UFC and someone who wanted to play the game, it was kind of a bummer, because I don't want to say they didn't cater to people who didn't understand it, but they made it very hard to learn. And I feel like in this game, the learning curve is very easy to understand. You can pick it up and play it. You can have your friends play it. People that don't even understand it can figure out how to play it in a few minutes. And that is something that cannot be overstated. So that is why on today's episode of Mumbles, I am giving this game a 7 out of 10. Now, if it had done more stuff in career mode and more stuff all around it, I could see this game easily getting an 8 or a 9. But in its current state, it only gets a 7 out of 10 from me. So anyways, guys, this has been my review of UFC 4. I hope you guys all enjoyed this. Please smack that subscribe button, smack the like button, and smack all those buttons. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye, everyone. Take care.